People engaged, it's time for dueling decades. The Matrix and Blade versus Bloodsport and Renegade. Strap on that cap, bust out the power glove. Come fight for what you love.
Dueling decades.
Poop culture, popping pins, dropping hand grenades. Van Halen locked in Mortal Kombat with David Gray. Banner Ballet and Sick, Iron Maiden, GNR. Come fight for what you love.
Dueling decades.
All right, let's move on to the movies round. Who should start this round?
I start.
All righty.
All right, February 17th, 1989, we had this epic comedy that was released. It brought in around $40 million worldwide in the box office, roughly about $83 million in 2019, which is pretty good for a comedy. The movie I speak of basically launched the career of Keanu Reeves, probably his biggest role to date at that time. He did have The Night Before, but I wouldn't say that like this is much bigger. Also launched a career, Alex Winter, also starred The Funniest Man Ever to Live, George Carlin. And of course, I'm talking about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Does anything else really need to be said about this movie? I'd say no, because it's fucking awesome and everybody knows it. So Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Excellent.
All right, so we'll head over to my movies. February 17th, 1989 was the release of one of my all-time favorite comedies. It is the Tom Hanks masterpiece, The Burbs, with an all-star supporting cast, including Bruce Dern, Carrie Fisher, and Corey Feldman. The film was shot completely in sequence and was filmed during the writer's strike of 1988. And for this reason alone, Joe Dante encouraged his actors to improvise many of the film's iconic sequences. And a little tidbit about that, the house next door to him, Corey Feldman's house that he's painting through half the movie, that's actually the house that was the Munsters' house. It was filmed on the same lot. That's why you never see most of the house.
Hey, no tan lines today. Ricky, get this lame-o out of your yard.
Yeah, if you haven't seen The
movie.
Burbs, you got to check out The Burbs. It's just an absolute classic. It was the final movie of Brother Theodore. Plays such a great character in that movie. So check out The Burbs, February 17th, 1989.
You could pick both these are on Prime right now for free. So
Yeah, if you haven't seen them, either one of these, it's a crime.
It came with the frame.
It came with the frame.
About a 9 on the tension scale there,
scale,
Rube. I love that. Oh my God, that's such a fucking great movie. It's just one of the greatest movies ever made. Top 5, hands down, of my favorite movies of all time.
Totally
well, wait
agree.
until you hear February 19th. Mike Ranger, take it away.
All right. Well, on February 23rd, 1990, saw the release of Rockula, the story of a vampire who hasn't scored in 400 years, and tonight's the night.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not my real pick at all.
Oh, fuck. Damn, it's going to be something good now.
Could not mention it. That was on February 9th, 1990, everyone's favorite ponytail and Hollywood's manliest runner,
Of course.
Steven Seagal, gave us Hard to Kill.
Yeah.
Seagal plays Detective Mason Storm, who is left in a coma after an assassination attempt kills his wife. He wakes up 7 years later with one thing on his mind: revenge. The film went on to gross $47 million at the U.S. box office. That's right, boys and girls. The star of Above the Law is back. Now Steven Seagal is hard to kill.
and you can take
Nice.
that to the bank.
Oh, I love that movie as well. I mean, not as much as I love The Burbs, but that movie, when he's being wheeled around the hospital in a semi-comatose state, looking like Seagal Jesus, I just never stop smiling. It's my favorite
He
thing.
looks like Bobby Brady.
Yeah. They should
That's where
like
the inspiration came from.
they should speed that section up and put yakety sax over it. So amazing.
Oh, my God.
Bumping into shit with his little Jesus beard and his she brings a little kitten to his bedside to try and get him out of the coma. Kelly LeBrock and Seagal got married.
Can we talk about her staring at his cock?
I was hoping we were
just-
going to mention that.
Frankly looks at his Johnson, right, while he's in a coma. Which,
Yeah.
let's be fair, if my nurse is Kelly LeBrock at that time in 1990, have a peek, Kelly. Go on, have a look.
Even now,
Nudge it if you like. Just nudge it slightly. I don't mind.
I think she probably did.
Yeah, she probably did. And what about the bit later when he does acupuncture with joss sticks? When he's got like the acupuncture things in, but they're also like smoking with herbs in them and stuff. I mean, the whole movie is utterly bonkers. It's brilliant.
He has basically, like, if you look at it this way, when he dies or goes into the coma, the last thing he knows is that he fucks his wife and then they blow her away. Then he goes into a coma, right? He wakes up from a coma. Within 12 hours, he's banging Kelly LeBrock.
Yeah. Well, that's how Seagal does it. Seagal is never one sandwich away from a good fuck.
Well, to be fair, in Demolition Man, John Spartan kind of does the same thing with Lenina Huxley.
But it wasn't real sex; it was simulated.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But he thought,
Except Seagal would have known what to have done with the 3 shells.
True.
Yeah.
He would have been like, I know all about the shells because they're an ancient Asian thing that I learned about when I was in the CIA.
Somebody walks in, he's got one over his mouth.
Yeah.
What are you doing with the shell?
Huffing lumps of shit through the shell. Oh. Rubbing 2 of them on his nipples.
It's a recovery technique. It's Asian.
That's not what you're supposed to do with the shells. Damn it.
All right.
Steven Seagal.
Also February 9th, 1990, the release of the story of a hard-nosed cop who has teamed up with a detective with multiple personality disorder to uncover a long-lost Nazi sex tape.
Yes, Loose Cannons!
Hitler, which would jeopardize the political future of the German chancellor-elect. It is Loose Cannons, starring Dan Aykroyd, Gene Hackman, and Dom DeLuise. And back when they actually had theme songs for movies. The theme song for this one featured vocals by Katie Seagal and Dan Aykroyd.
Loose Cannons, another one of my, like, I know it's a bad film, I get it, but I genuinely do like it, and it's one of like the forgotten buddy cop films. It's where they kind of went, what buddy cop pairing haven't we done? And they went, well, someone who's massively mentally unstable, but his mental instability comes through in him doing pop culture voices. And how about we cast an overweight, past his prime Dan Aykroyd up against Gene Hackman, who'd rather be anywhere else. Like when you watch the movie, Gene Hackman just wants to be as far away from the film as possible. Co-starring Dom DeLuise, though, in a rare non-Burt Reynolds supporting role.
This was actually critically panned pretty much unanimously, a massive financial and box office flop. But here's something interesting I found about this movie. In May 2013, Calgary police investigated after footage from the film was found in a landfill by a worker who mistook it for actual evidence of an actual murder.
That is true.
It was later noticed that Aykroyd was in the frame, and the police contacted his agent, who, after some searching, stated that it was the section from this movie. And TMZ reported that after the incident, Aykroyd was quoted as saying, "The movie should have been left in the landfill where it belongs."
Oh, man.
Yeah, he says that with hindsight. At the time, he was like, I get to do the soundtrack? Great. Let's do it in another style that was made hugely popular by African Americans that I'm just going to trample all over and do it my own way. Just like I did with the Blues Brothers and the Dragnet rap. I mean, come on now.
That is true.
Bob Clark directed it, who, of course, famously directed which movie that everyone watches every December 25th in this country?
Puppet Master.
Black Christmas. No, he did that, but he also did A Christmas Story. Bob Clark's trajectory as a director is completely insane. But apparently by 1990, he needed a new pool, so he directed Loose Cannons.
Wow.
It is a fascinating movie that I talked so much about at a recent movie trivia night that a friend of mine brought me the VHS of it. Because he's like, I can't believe you don't. I used to own it in the UK, but he's like, I can't believe you don't have it in the US. Here is a copy of the VHS of Loose Cannons, and we've been best friends ever since.
Nice.
Because it's just one of those films. It was one of those rentals. Like, there's a lot of people like VHS rentals. The Burbs was the same. The Burbs and Loose Cannons and to some extent Hard to Kill, but definitely Loose Cannons and The Burbs were two that when I was anywhere between like 12 to 15, I'd rent them all the time and watch them just all the time. They were, I mean, Bill and Ted's the two Bill and Ted films were obviously massive. Like they were cultural touchstones. But the Burbs and Loose Cannons for me were little discoveries I made. It was long before like the cult of the Burbs kind of became a thing.
Right.
I mean,
it
the
was
Burbs
in the box office for the month of February of '89, so it did pretty well.
it did, yeah, when it came out. But everyone, if by the time people knew who Tom Hanks was, people were talking about Big and Splash way
Right.
more than they were talking about the Burbs, way more than they were even talking about like Money Pit and stuff. But like Big and Splash became his two films. It was really, unless you grew up with the Burbs or unless you kind of rented it from a rental store, not knowing like everyone who was in it or Joe Dante or any of the thing, if you just rented it being like, oh, okay, the Burbs, and then discovered it, they're the people who I think really hold it dear.
Yeah.
Don't you
That's how
hate,
I
you
discovered
hate
it.
Tom Cruise, right?
Do I hate Tom Cruise? I like action Tom Cruise. When Tom Cruise is earnest and serious, I fucking hate him. 'Cause
Oh,
he's
perfect. Then you'll love this.
Yeah.
The Burbs knocked Rain Man out of the top spot that it sat there for 10 weeks.
Good. It deserves
Burbs
it because
knocked that one.
Rain Man, not as good a movie as everyone remembers. Rain Man was one of those movies, got huge critical acclaim. Everyone talked about it, blah, 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 blah. When you watch it now, piece of shit. When you watch The Burbs now, it just keeps on giving. Every watch is a beautiful reawakening of just what it's an utterly, utterly, utterly perfect film from start to finish. The soundtrack is great. The acting is phenomenal.
And
Just
it's oddly rated PG, right?
Yeah, it is. It's rated PG. Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, there's nothing really in it. I mean, yeah, there's the skulls at the end, but there's no like, I don't know. I guess there's like dog
Yeah, it's
crap.
all assumed violence.
Yeah, it's like assumed stuff.
There's some nice shots of Mrs. Rumsfeld, but
Yeah, right, exactly. But
that's
nothing,
about it.
nothing. Yeah.
All right,
Don't
what do you
start on me, Carol.
Tell us the movies that we missed.
The movies that you missed, there weren't many, but in 1989, where there's certainly more than there were in 1990, you missed Major League, of course. That would be another one of the big ones that came out, but I'm so glad you went with the Burbs. I thought you were going to go Major League on me, and going with the Burbs, just phenomenal choice, guys. Well done. Sleepaway Camp 3, Teenage Wasteland, probably the least great of all the Sleepaway Camp official original sequels, but still a pretty good time if you like watching Bruce Springsteen's sister just kill people indiscriminately. You have Weekend at Bernie's. You have some people say underrated sequel to Cronenberg's Fly, starring everyone's favorite, least humorous person on the planet, Eric Stoltz, which I wouldn't suggest rewatching. You have American Ninja 3, Blood Hunt. This time Steve James is back, but not our favorite American Ninja, Dudikoff. He does not come back for this particular sequel, but they're really the key movies from that month. And then from 1990, February, probably the biggest two that you guys didn't mention is probably Nightbreed and Revenge, the Kevin Costner movie. But you got Nightbreed, La Femme Nikita. Apart from that, there's the wonderful hair metal action movie Alienator, about evil guy Cole, who's about to be executed on a distant spaceship, but he manages to escape on a shuttle and make his way to some woods in America, just some random woods, where the Alienator goes on to kill everybody. There's not much else. Flashback with Kiefer Sutherland and Dennis Hopper. The well-known racist buddy cop ghost film Heart Condition.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
Bob Hoskins plays a massive racist. Well, not a massive racist. He's only about 5'4", but he plays a racist who teams up with everyone's favorite African-American actor Denzel Washington, who is a ghost, and together they have to, I don't know, solve crimes or something. That's about it. Yeah, that's about it. There's not many other movies from those 2 months. But still, I have to say, for February, which is normally a quiet month because everyone is like, November, December, January, you've normally got your Oscar contenders. February is normally a quiet month because the Oscars are happening. At that point, it's normally a lot of rerun films come out in cinemas. A lot of Oscar hopefuls go back into cinemas to kind of get more recognition again. So considering that is the case in February most years, pretty strong showing on both 89 and 90. 89 obviously has to take it because of the cultural impact of Bill and Ted. And also The Burbs is huge. But guys, 90s, Hard to Kill, what a classic. Can't get any better than Seagal in Hard to Kill. It's just tremendous. And Loose Cannon's a personal favorite. If you haven't seen it, track it down somewhere because it is worth one watch just to get halfway through the film and be like, what were they thinking?
Damn, so that was a really close. Even though the score ended up being 6-1, I don't feel like this was a 6-1 matchup.
No, it's not at all.
All the rounds were close.
If I had to score it, if I could give like points rather than who won and who lost, then it would really be kind of like I would say 4.5 to 6. So 89 still would have taken it, but 90 would have got like 4.5 points, and 90 would have got 6 points.
Maybe that's something to think about. Anyhow.
All right. So the Mama Lukes pull out yet another victory, but stay tuned. Maybe the after-school special with their new name will come back next time and win another one. But if you missed if you missed a past episode, check out duelingdecades.com and also go over on Facebook where you can join our Facebook group and peek behind the beaded curtain as you join our private group as well. So until next time, fellow poopers, we're going to bid you a peace, love, light, and a joy. Have a grateful week, everybody.
And that's the only time you'll hear about the Mamalukes pulling out.
Dueling Decades.